All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today we are going to dig into a problem that I think we've all seen. It's what turns almost every corporate social media feed into, well, a digital ghost town. We're talking about why so many company posts just feel completely lifeless. So let's break down why this is happening and, way more importantly, how you can start creating content that actually, connects with people.
And you know exactly what I'm talking about, right? It's that endless scroll of self-congratulatory announcements we're thrilled to announce or so proud to partner with. Look, they're professionally written, they're perfectly on brand, but they have absolutely zero impact. They just kind of exist. They're just piling up and taking up space in your feed. This is the question that, honestly, keeps so many marketing and communications teams up at night. You're doing everything you're supposed to do, right? You're posting consistently, you're active, you're checking all the boxes, but the engagement, it's just flat. The needle isn't moving an inch. So what is really going on here?
Okay, first things first. The whole issue really starts with a fundamental misunderstanding of what social media is even for. For decades, companies just used a megaphone. They were just broadcasting their own news loudly, repeatedly. But that era, well, it's over. It's been over for a long, long time.
And listen, it's so easy to blame the algorithm when a post doesn't perform. We all do it. But honestly, that's just a distraction from the real root cause. The real problem is that these posts are, well, they're hollow. They announce what a company did, but they completely, totally fail to explain why it matters to another actual human being.
So, where does this lack of meaning even come from? Well, it all boils down to one critical mistake in perspective. The thing is, we've been casting the wrong hero for our story.
And here it is. This is probably the single most important mindset shift you can possibly make. Your company is not the hero. Your customer is. See, when you make your company the hero of every single story, you're telling a story that, let's be honest, only you and your employees are actually interested in.
This brings us to a really powerful idea called the story gap. Think about it. Every good story needs tension, right? A hero wants something, but there's a problem standing in their way. Well, when your company is the hero, there's no problem. There's no struggle, no tension. You've already won. And a story without a struggle? Well, it's not a story at all. It's just a boring announcement.
And that is why we end up with that super familiar, totally predictable, and failing formula. You know the drill. State the big achievement, sprinkle in some congratulatory language, tag the whole team, throw in some hashtags, and boom, you post. It checks a box for the comms team for sure. But it built absolutely nothing. No connection, no belief, and definitely no trust.
Which brings us to what's called the how problem. Look, in today's world, it's so transparent. People care way less about your announcements and so much more about your actions. How you treat your customers, how you handle a mistake, how you actually live out your values. Those sanitized press releases, they don't show any of that. They're just noise.
Okay, so we've pretty clearly established that the megaphone is broken. So what do we replace it with? Well, the answer is a fundamental shift, away from broadcasting and towards storytelling. And the good news is, there's actually a proven framework to help guide us.
This framework gives us a totally new set of questions to ask before we even think about posting. And notice how the focus immediately shifts. It stops being about your achievement and starts being about your customer's journey. Suddenly, you're no longer the hero. You are the guide, the one who understands their problem and can help them win the day. Okay, I know this might sound a little abstract, so let's make it really concrete. Let's look at a real-world example of how this simple little shift can completely transform the impact of a post.
Okay, so on one side, you've got the typical company-centric announcement. It's all about them. But on the other side, you have a story. It starts with the customer's problem and it ends with the customer's transformation. You see the difference? One is just noise, the other is actual meaning.
All right, so here's that classic corporate post. Excited to announce our new partnership with MedTech Systems. It's all about the company. It's totally forgettable, and if we're being really honest with ourselves, nobody outside your own building actually cares.
But now, look at the difference. This version starts with empathy. It identifies a real problem that real people are facing every single day. The partnership isn't the story here. It's the solution to the hero's, the customer's, problem. Now this is a post that actually connects with someone.
And this right here is the payoff. The focus isn't on two logos shaking hands. It's on cutting diagnosis time by 40%. It's about reducing readmission rates by 23%. This is proof that you're not just making announcements, you are making a tangible, measurable difference in people's lives.
So the really crucial point here is that this isn't just about getting more likes or shares. It's about a fundamental shift in your strategic goal from just chasing visibility to earning something way, way more valuable.
Because think about it, awareness without belief is just noise. You don't want people to just know your company's name. You want them to believe that you understand their world and that you can genuinely help them succeed. Because belief, that's what actually drives action. In this whole journey, it follows a really clear path. When you communicate with clarity and humanity, you start to build belief. When you do that consistently, over and over, that belief hardens into real trust. And then, when you combine that trust with actual proof of results, well, that's what drives real, sustainable growth.
So, if this is so effective, why doesn't every company do this? Well, it's often not because their teams can't tell these stories. It's because they don't feel like they have permission to. They've been trained for years to only amplify the official, polished, and, let's face it, sterile company line.
And that's why this kind of change really has to come from the top. When leaders start sharing stories about customer wins instead of just company wins, when they're open about lessons learned, and when they actually invite real conversation, they create a whole new permission structure for the entire organization to finally be more human.
So, let's wrap this up. The old way, shouting about your own achievements with that corporate megaphone, it just doesn't work anymore. It's dead. The future belongs to the companies, to the brands who can tell meaningful stories that make their customers the hero.
And that leaves us with one final, very practical question for you. Go and look at your company's last 10 social media posts right now. Are they just broadcasting from a megaphone? Or are they telling a story that someone actually wants to hear? The answer to that question is going to tell you everything you need to know about the impact you're really making.